at 10, battling in a war overseas paled in comparison to the fight one man faced right here at home. Welcome to News 3 at 10, everyone. I'm Michelle Lee. Eric's off tonight. Combat veterans, they know better than most how life can change in an instant. What they might not expect is to come home and face a greater challenge to their survival than on the battlefield. Tonight, only News 3's Dave DeLozier shares with us a Wisconsin veteran's story of survival.
It was scary.
Life, who lives and who dies, sometimes comes down to who is where and when.
Not too many couples deploy together, and we went together. It was our first year of marriage, our honeymoon in Iraq. It's tough.
It was 2006 southern Iraq, and during enemy shelling, life is anything but a guarantee.
All you can hear is the sound of the ground cracking and not knowing where it's gonna fall on you. And at that point, I think it hits you that you know somebody's trying to kill you.
Jessica and Keith McCarter survived that year in Iraq and came home to Wisconsin.
Keith came back very fit.
They quickly learned that far from the battlefield, life still carries no guarantees.
He just got very tired.
His challenges in Iraq probably paled to the comparison of the challenge he had when he got back.
At the age of 25, the veteran, the husband and father of 3, is diagnosed with heart failure.
He's 25 years old, and he was dying.
And he is rapidly running out of options.
Keith has a very compelling story. The most important part of his story is that he's a young man that should have a long life to live. And without a new heart, he wasn't looking at that possibility.
On a heart transplant list, waiting to live or waiting to die. Doctors would implant a ventricular assist device to keep his heart beating and buy him time. And then comes a complication.
Keith was on so many medications that one of his medications had affected his thyroid, and he started packing on the pounds.
Keith gained more than 100 pounds, rising to 330 pounds, which makes him ineligible for a heart transplant.
I see people coming to me that are desperate at some level. Keith was desperate to live.
If life does come down to who is where and when, this operating room and this moment would decide. Dr. Michael Guerin, a bariatric surgeon at UW Health, is Keith's one and only chance. The bariatric surgery, if it works, would allow Keith to lose the weight and again go back on the heart transplant list.
He really didn't have a lot of options. He could live with the ventricular assist device as long as it would last. But if he couldn't get a new heart at his young age, that essentially would have been the end of his life.
The surgery complete, only time would tell. Remember, Keith started out at 330 pounds, but within 90 days.
This morning I weigh 207.
It allows Keith to go back on the heart transplant list until the biggest surprise of all.
We're able to take him off the list.
Something that very rarely happens. The health of Keith's heart came back, and with it, his chance at life.
I've gotten everything pretty much back. I'm able to travel again, able to go swimming, do stuff with my kids that I couldn't do before. There you go. Oh, turn back.
And when you have been where they have been, you know what this means.
I don't get upset over the small things.
And you don't forget the big things.
Good, how are you?
Like how this all happened and who you need to say thank you to.
I'd like to admit that I didn't have tears welling up in my eyes. You know, again, for all my patients, it's a special thing to see their lives transform for the better. Keith, given his history, given his age, I can't tell you that I've had a more gratifying patient interaction in my entire career. 2
lives that intersected at a moment when life really did come down to who was where and when.
It is absolutely why I do what I do.
Thank you.
At UW Hospital, this is Dave DeLozier, WISC News 3.
Unbelievable. Well, doctors, listen to this, are uncertain what caused Keith McCarter's heart to fail him and equally uncertain why it is healing. Keith knows there is a chance he could again need to go back on the transplant list at some time in the future, but he and his family are taking it one day at a time and not taking any of them for granted. Now, Dave learned about this story through a news tip, so if you have a story that you think we should tell people about, go to channel3000.com and click on News Tips.